He served as a missionary on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline back in the 70s. 3 years he spent in their boardrooms. He became friends with them, some of the elite in the world, the people that really rule the world. And he's just made a brand new DVD called A Panic is Planned. Topics are: how long before the panic, the elite agenda update, stock market expectations, Bitcoin, what the elite says, Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, an insider tells the true financial news, more panic up, another health miracle. And today he's going to tell us, where will the elite make their money? Lindsey, welcome back to the Prophecy Club, brother.
Sam, what a privilege to be back with you after 4 years of silence, and I could not keep quiet any longer. When I saw Donald Trump elected and the elite made the statement to me, God intervened. It said a whole world. And then I waited. For a year's time, I still have not done anything in the way of radio shows. And finally it got to the point that I said, I can't keep quiet any longer. And then when they gave me their new agenda, and not only gave me their new agenda, but they told me how they were going to panic up the stock market, and even told me the people they were going to use to do it. They told me about all of these cryptocurrencies and other things that they were going to use. And then they finally came down to the point of telling me how they were going to make their money under Donald Trump. And this is a revised agenda. And that's right. They set an agenda within a few weeks after Donald Trump's election because they knew that they could not bring in their new world order as they had planned, because they knew Donald Trump would not initiate another quantitative easing and bail them out. So their entire agenda and plans had to be changed, altered, reversed, however you'd like to call it. And in my estimation, the New World Order was set back between 20 and 25 years at least. And now, of course, they're frantic, but they have no intentions in taking a loss. Just one in passing, the stock market. They told me who they were going to use to panic up the stock market. They said, we're going to use foreign countries. Check sometimes and see Switzerland, how much money they're investing in America's stock market now, because it's the best place in the world to get a return. And then look around at many, many other nations, and you can actually pick them out for yourself. And then they said, we're actually going to get the Federal Reserve involved in the stock market. I was utterly amazed. So all these things have pushed the stock market to, what was it, 28,000, I think, before it went down so much. Mark my words, according to the elite, not according to Lindsey Williams. According to them, they plan to take the stock market right back up. You'll see it 30,000 within a very short period of time. You'll see it go to 40,000. And with Donald Trump in office for the next second term, you'll probably see it go to 50,000. It could go that high. Where will the elite make their money now? This is revised agenda of theirs, not back a year ago, just after the election. But recently, when Donald Trump signed an executive order, I found out just after that where they intend to make their millions, their billions, and more than likely their trillions. And I hope you have pencil and paper ready, because the statistics and information I'm going to give in the next few moments' time, you're going to go back, mark my words, you're going to go back 3 to 4 years from now and look at this and say, I can't believe it really happened. How are they going to make their money? They're going to make it in oil. America, this is a prediction now based on what I have heard from my sources. America will be the leading oil-producing country of the world by 2020. I'm going to go and start to explain all of this to you, because you've got to get some background to it. I'll begin with a conversation that took place between Ken Fromm and myself, sitting at Arco Base after a worship service one night. He used to attend from time to time. He stayed around after everybody else had gone. In the course of this conversation, I was utterly fascinated as he told me the following story. He said, Chaplain, let's go back many, many years, 50, 60 years ago. The Arabs, they didn't know there was oil on their land. And he said it was finally discovered. In fact, I think the first discovery of oil was made in the 3rd of March in 1938. and it was a group called California Arabian Standard Oil. Then one country after the other in the Middle East had an oil strike and an oil fine. And Ken told me, he said, the American oil companies went in and said to the Arabs, we have the technology and we will come in and develop your oil fields. And, now I'm using the word here, this wasn't the word that Ken used, but he said the elite, these are my words now, he said the elite will finance your oil fields. The Arabs didn't have the money. They were nomadic peoples. They'd been that way for many, many centuries, as long as anybody can go back and know. And here they were, the American oil companies saying, we will come in now and develop your oil fields. In fact, Ken Fromm himself personally was given the job by Atlantic Richfield of going into Dubai and developing all of their oil fields. Each one of the Arab countries, a different American oil company would take that country and was assigned to develop that oil field. Texaco would take another, Exxon would take another, on and on you go. And the elite would finance these oil fields, and the American companies build them. But then, in 1973 through 77, something very unusual happened. There was a man by the name of Kissinger. It was during the Nixon-Ford era when Kissinger had place in government with those presidents. And Kissinger was told to go abroad. He started with Saudi Arabia, and many other countries were involved also, but in particular it started with Saudi Arabia. And Kissinger said, America has increased, our national debt is increasing greatly, and we have to do something about it. And he said, now, we will buy your oil. We will make you rich. We'll see to it that you become some of the wealthiest people on the face of the earth. If we buy your oil, we would like a promise that you will buy our national debt. You'll buy our T-bills. You'll buy our securities that are issued by the Federal Reserve. And they said, okay, we'll do that. You buy our oil. We will buy your debt. Well, this went on for numbers of years. And finally it got to the place that the Arabs, the OPEC group, was literally so wealthy until they didn't need the elite anymore. The oil fields had all been paid off. The American oil companies had exited and gone their way, and the people had learned how to produce their own oil in their own oil fields. And as a result, the elite didn't need the Arabs, didn't need OPEC, and neither did OPEC need the elite. What do the elite do when it gets to that place? Now, keep in mind, the elite only go along with people as long as they can make something out of them. But when they don't need you and you don't need them, well, I'll never forget the day I received a call from one of those individuals that I trust so well. And he said, Chaplain, would you like to know what's going to happen in the Middle East? And I said, sure. He said, I want you to go to YouTube. And he said, I want you to type in retired General Wesley Clark. He said, I want you to listen. He said, it's very short. He said, it's only a little over 2 minutes long. But he said, type in retired General Wesley Clark. Listen to what he has to say. And he said, you'll know everything that's going to happen in the Middle East for the next 5 years. I was dumbfounded. I produced 2 DVDs back in those years. It was numbers of years ago when this happened. And I produced 2 DVDs explaining what was going to take place. And this happened exactly like it. They had to alter slightly their timeline because of what took place in Syria with Assad and the fact that Putin stepped in. But apart from that, and maybe a 2-year loss there, they kept their timeline. So retired General Wesley Clark said he walked into the Pentagon one day, and somebody there in the Pentagon, high up, I guess, said, General, in fact, I think he named the person in his talk. He said, we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years. And then he went on to tell who those countries were, with the exception of one. He never mentioned Saudi Arabia. So I knew exactly what was going to happen. I went back to my elite friend, and I said, now Saudi Arabia is the #1 oil producer in the world, as of that time they were. Russia now is the number one oil-producing country in the world. And my prediction was that America, by 2020, will be the number one oil-producing country in the world. And Wesley Clark said, we're going to take them out one right after the other. And we're going to start out with Saddam. There were no weapons of mass destruction. What a joke. And Bush knew it very well. But you remember who Bush's daddy is? George Herbert W. Walker Bush, Mr. New World Order himself, who controlled George Bush all the way through his 2 terms as President of the United States of America. And he said, they knew no weapons of mass destruction, but it was all over oil. The Iraqi oil fiasco, or the Iraqi fiasco, was an oil war. It had nothing whatsoever to do with anything else. It was all about that, nothing, no weapons of mass destruction. And then one after the other, they took them out just like it had been predicted. They came down to Syria, and they had a problem because Putin stepped in and helped out Assad, and it sent them back about 2 years. Now, from what I understand, Saudi Arabia is in trouble now, and it is nothing like the trouble they're going to get into very shortly. There is going to be civil unrest in Saudi Arabia. Mark my words, that country is going to be turned upside down since King Saud died. The country has major, major problems and going to have more and more. What are the elite in the process of doing? They're in the process of making it so that the other oil-producing countries, mainly in the Middle East, but any place in OPEC, that they are going to have such internal problems or inability to produce their oil fields that now the elite can produce another oil field. I'm not going to use one field because it's going to be a combination of many, many oil fields. And when Donald Trump signed an executive order, and that was signed on January the 4th, if you want to go back and look it up for yourself, Trump signed an executive order allowing offshore drilling all the way around America, with the exception of some spots in California. And he opened up ANWR, which is the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. And I've been waiting for 39 years. That's right. I've been waiting for 39 years for Gull Island to become the oil field that I told about in my book, Energy on Crisis. The book is out of print, but you can go to Amazon Kindle and read it or get it off the internet if you wish. And in the book is a chapter entitled, If Gull Island Doesn't Blow Your Mind, or Gull Island Will Blow Your Mind, and then another chapter entitled, If Gull Island Doesn't Blow Your Mind, This Will. All of this oil here in America is going to be produced. Now, I understood from a very reliable source in the oil business, just within the past 2 days, that during the administration of Obama, oil rigs moved out of America by the dozens. They went to foreign countries. After all, these rigs cost millions and millions of dollars, and they had to keep making money, so they went to foreign countries and started drilling. These oil rigs now, by the dozens, have already been shut down in foreign countries and are loaded on ships right now. I mean, right this minute, they are somewhere in the ocean headed towards America, dozens of oil rigs, to take advantage of Donald Trump's executive order saying that the offshore drilling will be allowed again. And the elite, when they found out, now, the elite did not tell Donald Trump to sign that executive order. They had nothing to do with it whatsoever. They've been wanting this for the longest. They wanted it under the Obama administration. They wanted a pipeline across Canada and across America, and Obama wouldn't let. They had some trouble out of Obama. The elite did not get everything they wanted under his administration, but one of them was the oil. He would never open it up for them. And Donald Trump, because he wanted to make America great again, because with him it's drained the swamp. Well, the swamp is now taking advantage of Donald Trump signing the executive order, and have decided, just a revised agenda just within the past few weeks, that they will now come in and take advantage of what Donald Trump did, and they are going to make their trillions out of oil over the next 7 years, if Donald Trump is in there for 7 years. This is the method that they are going to make their money. Can you imagine the boom that's going to take place? I'll never forget that day. I walked into Arco Base that morning. I think it was 1975. And the security guard said, "Chaplain, would you like to see something exciting today?" And I said, "Sure, I'm always in for that." He said, "Come on, let's go out to West Dock." And when we got there, he said, "Look out there. About a mile and a half, 2 miles out is a little island called Gull Island in the Arctic Ocean." And he said, "We think we have struck a monstrous pool of oil there." And he kept watching his instruments, and in a few minutes he said, "Come on, let's head back to Arco Base." We got back and walked up to the second floor and went in. I started to walk into Mr. Ken Fromm's office, and I stopped at the door, and I was almost frozen. Not from the cold either. I didn't dare walk in that office. I looked inside, and I saw the elite of the elite. I saw the top oil men of America. I saw the biggest of the big, and I stood there at the door hoping I would get invited in. A few moments, Ken Fromm looked over at me, and he said, "Chaplain, come on in." He said, "It'll be okay." He said, I don't think it'll matter too much. But he said, "Come on in." In a few moments, they began to go over what was happening. They knew the depth that they had drilled into. They knew the perforation of the pipe. They had found out the pressure of the field. And Ken Fromm looked over at me and he said, "Chaplain, we have just discovered the largest pool of crude oil on the face of the earth." And he said, "Look at this." And he began to go all of these details and statistics, some of which you'll find in my book, Energy Not in Crisis, on the Gull Island, will blow your mind. And that night, I went back to my dorm room, and I didn't call anyone. I should have, but I didn't. And the next morning, when I walked back over to Arco Base to get breakfast, the security guard called me immediately and said, "Go up to Mr. Fromm's office." He said, "I hope you haven't talked to anybody." Well, I sat down in his office, and in a few moments, he walked in and he said, "Chaplain, you haven't talked to anybody?" I said, "No." I said, "I've been excited all night long. America was going to be energy independent." That was back in the days when they had us convinced that we were running out of oil. He said, "Well, that's not going to happen." He said, "This information has just been classified." He said, "I would suggest that you not say too much unless you want to get in trouble." And he said, "You be careful." That was 39 years ago. And never anywhere, except in my book, Energy Not in Crisis, was the story ever told of Gull Island. Donald Trump signed an executive order on January the 4th that opens up ANWR and will include Gull Island and will include offshore drilling all the way around the United States of America. And the drill rigs are literally moving in by the dozens right now from other countries where they have been during the previous administration and are now planning on drilling in America and making their fortunes, and they are going to make their fortunes. And the elite have told me that America's oil fields within 2 years' time will produce, they're expecting them to produce to the point that America will be the leading oil-producing country of the world. Now, what do? I hope you're seeing the picture. According to retired General Wesley Clark, the other oil fields are going to be somehow hampered from producing. They will use drastic measures. The Middle East is in real trouble. Saudi Arabia is in drastic problems. This is going to affect Russia in a massive manner, because Russia right now is the number one oil-producing country in the world, but they won't be very long because America, since we already have the petrodollar, and by the way, you remember my prediction a few moments ago, I said the American dollar is still going to be the reserve currency of the world. The American dollar will still be the petrodollar. It is not going to go away to the Chinese or anybody else. The elite now have decided to make America the number one oil-producing country in the world. Do you realize that this is going to make us an exporting nation and not an importing nation? Within 2 years' time, it is going to totally change the statistics of the national debt. Folks, I hope you're getting this, because if you take advantage of the new agenda of the elite right now, as an individual, if you will take to heart and go and search this out for yourself and watch it happen right before your eyes. One financial advisor, oh, by the way, in my latest DVD, I had to bring in a financial advisor whom I trust more than any man that I know on the face of the earth. I call him my Wall Street insider. And I had to bring him in because there was no way in the world that I could tell this financial news. It had to come from someone credible enough besides just Lindsey Williams, who says that the elite know it. And one of the questions off the air when he and I were talking one time, he said, Chaplain, I think I better be getting my clients into oil. He said, but wait a minute. He said, isn't this going to bring oil prices down? You ready for a prediction? Oil prices, gasoline prices aren't coming down. All they have to do is disrupt the oil fields in certain countries around the world, disrupt the ability of Russia to do what they're doing right now, which they may, and how they'll do it, I have not the slightest idea. When America becomes the number one oil producer of the world, we are an exporter instead of an importer. Our national debt is altered, and in turn, we are going to see jobs available by the thousands. You have never seen the like. Any young person today that wants to get out there and make his fortune, he can make it. Right on the oil fields, in the oil patch, whether it be Alaska or whether it be offshore, right here in America. And the elite are going to bring on oil fields that are going to be so catastrophic. You say, well, won't we have some oil spills somewhere? Well, maybe. But had you rather trust nuclear energy that has polluted the entire Pacific Ocean? Or had you rather trust the possibility of oil? I'll never forget the day that Ken Fromm said to me, and you'll find this also in my book, Energy Non-Crisis. Ken Fromm said to me one day, he said, Chaplain, we have enough natural gas. Now, quickly, the cleanest method of generating electricity on the face of this earth is natural gas. There positively is no pollution with the modern methods they have of using it. Ken Fromm said to me back yonder 40 years ago, he said, Chaplain, we have known reserves of enough natural gas on the North Slope of Alaska to provide the entire United States of America for over 200 years at the projected rate of increased consumption if no outside source was ever used to bring natural gas to the United States of America. And now they are going to open all of this up. Trump has just signed the executive order. The pipeline, mark my words, you'll see one pipeline built all the way across Canada from the Arctic Wildlife Refuge. You'll see Gull Island opened up. You will see another pipeline probably built across America. Can you think of the number of jobs and the wealth this is going to bring to America? And not only that, but then we begin to export oil to the other countries of the world because they can't get it from Saudi Arabia and some of these other OPEC countries after a while. And then we turn around with all of that and open up Gull Island, largest pool of oil on the face of the earth. And then the first thing that someone asked me on a talk show just last night, he said, crude oil, it's fossil fuel. And I said, no, it's not. I said, that's what they taught you years ago, and that's what they wanted you to believe, and that's what the oil companies fed you a line about for all these years. But I said, go and talk to the scientists. Go look on the Internet and find the truth. I said, crude oil is abiotic. It is not a fossil fuel, and they have known all the time that it wasn't decayed dinosaurs and foliage that had rotted down in the earth and now had become crude oil. I said, no way. I said, Russia drilled their Kola SG3 wells, went down 39,000 feet, and they found oil where there never were any dinosaurs or decayed matter. And that it led them to becoming the leading oil-producing country of the world as of right now. I said, it is an abiotic and reproduces itself, and it is not going to give out. It is a renewable resource, and the earth itself is renewing it. And now take this natural gas and generate electricity without pollution and export this to foreign countries as well as using it in America. Folks, can you understand why? You must know. You positively have to. You've got to know the new agenda. It is so different than anything you ever expected. It is so contrary to everything the newsletters are saying. It is the new agenda of the elite and will be carried on as long as Donald Trump is the President of the United States of America. And now they are going to make their fortunes, their trillions, off of drilling oil and producing America's own oil fields. And they are saying by 2020, America will be the #1 oil-producing country of the world. Take advantage of the elite. That's right. But take advantage also of this DVD and knowing what the elite's agenda is and just what you can do in order to make this to your benefit and welfare. We are going to see a whole different world out there than what people thought was going to be prior to this last election. And my suggestion is, #1, set your spiritual house in order. You've got to know Jesus Christ as your Savior. If you get greedy over all of this, it'll destroy you. Set your spiritual house in order, get things right with the Lord, and then take advantage of the elite. They've been taking advantage of you for years. It's time that you take advantage of them for a change. In the meantime, it has been a privilege to be here to tell you what I have been told. This is not what Lindsey Williams says. There's no one in the world I could have ever figured this out. If I had sat with Ken Fromm that day at Prudhoe Bay, I would have never known the story. So take advantage of the elite. After all, they've taken advantage of you for years.
Well, Lindsey Williams, once again, thank you so much for being on Prophecy Club, and hope you'll come back again soon, brother.